Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Now, the Western view of secularism. What was the Western view? Like the European countries, the religion politics. State and religion has a separate sphere of its own with independent jurisdiction. Mutual exclusion of state and religion, principal distance of state and religion, no illegitimate inclusion of religion in the state. The state cannot aid any religious institution. Aid means they cannot help. State can hinder the activities of religious community as long as they are within the broad limits set up by the law of the land. For example, if religious woman forbids a woman from becoming a priest, then the states cannot do anything. And like this, if a particular religion forbids the entry of some of its members in the sanctum of its temple, then the states has no option but to let the matter rest exactly where it is. So here the religion is private matter, not a matter of state policy or law. This model interprets freedom and equality in an individualist manner. Liberty is the liberty of individual, equality is the equality between individuals, and there is little scope for community-based rights of minority rights. And on the other hand, drawbacks of this model can be seen as these were the positive points, and these are the negative points. Like on the other hand, drawbacks of this model can be seen as such states focus on intra-religious domination. By strict separation of state from church to realize, among other things, individual freedoms, issues of interreligious and therefore minority rights. Equality are often neglected. This model leaves no scope for the idea of state-supported religious reforms. Now, what is the difference between the Indian secularism and Western secularism? Indian secularism is fundamentally different from Western. Equal protection by the state to all religions. And at the same time, Nehru was not in favor of a complete separation between religion and state. A secular state can interfere in matters of religion to bring out social reforms. Now, there are the key characteristics of Western and Indian secularism. Let's see how. Strict non-interference of religion and state in each other's affairs. This is Western. And Indian secularism, state-supported religious reforms allowed. Less attention to community-based rights and attention to minority rights. Here, equality between different sections of religion is emphasized. Here, equality between different religious groups is a key concern. Individual and his rights at the center, and rights of both individual and religious community protected. Now let's see what is the Indian model of secularism. Nehru's view was equal protection by the state to all religion. He wanted a secular state to be on that and protects all religions but does not favor one at the expense of others and does not itself adopt any religion as the state religion. Now, Indian secularism maintains fundamentally different from Western secularism. It does not focus only on church, state separation, and the idea of interreligious equality is crucial to the Indian conception. What makes India secularism distinctive? There was already a culture of interreligious tolerance in India. Tolerance is compatible with the religious domination and it may allow some space to everyone, but such freedom is usually limited. And the advent of Western modernity brought to the notice and neglected and marginalized notions of equality in Indian thought. It sharpened these ideas and helped us to focus on equality within the community. And it also ushered ideas of inter-community equality to replace the notion of hierarchy. Its operation is done through three factors, like if we talk about rational education, legislation, social reforms, urbanization and industrialization. So, Indian secularism took on a distinct form a result of an interaction between what already existed in a society that had religious diversity and the ideas that came from the West. It resulted in equal focus on intra-religious and inter-religious domination. Let's see what are the differences in Indian secularism. Now, Indian secularism equally opposed oppression of Dalits, right, and women within Hinduism. It also opposes the discrimination against women within Indian Islam or Christianity and the possible threats that a majority community might pose to rights of the minority religious community. So, Indian secularism deals not only with the religious freedom of individuals but also with the religious freedom of minority communities. That is, individual has the right to profess a religion of his or her choice. Likewise, religious minority also have a right to exist and to maintain their own culture and educational institution. Indian secularism has made room for is compatible with the idea of state-supported religious reform. Let's take an example. Indian Constitution bans untouchability under Article 17. This is important. There is abolition of child marriage and lifting the taboo in intercaste marriage sanctioned by Hinduism. The Indian state may engage with religion negatively to oppose religious tyranny. It may also choose a positive mode of engagement. Thus, the Indian constitution grants all religious minorities the rights to establish and maintain their own educational um, institutions which may receive assistance from the state. Few more ways how Indian secularism is different from the other democratic countries. First Amendment of the US Constitution prohibits the legislature from making laws respecting an establishment of religion or that prohibit the free exercise of religion. What is it meant? By the word establishment, that the legislature cannot declare any religion as the official religion, and that is what is happening in India as well. Nor can they give prefer to one religion. We are also doing the same thing. In the USA, the separation between state and religion means that neither the state nor the religion can interfere in affairs of one another. There is one significant way in which Indian secularism differs from the dominant understanding of secularism as practiced in United States of America. This is because unlike the strict separation between religion and the state American secularism, in India secularism, the state can intervene in religious affairs. An Indian constitution intervened the Hindu religious practices in order to abolish untouchability. That is what I explained in the previous slide also. In Indian secularism, through the state is not strictly separate from religion. It does not maintain a principal distance vice versa religion. This means that any interference in religion by the state has to be based on the idols laid out in the constitution. And these idols serve as a standard through which we can judge whether the state is or is not behaving according to the secular principles. Now, Indian secularism focuses on more religious state separation. How? Indian secularism does not focus on the religious state separation alone. It also concerned with the maintaining harmony between religions and reforming religious practices to protect the social civil rights of its citizens. So basically, it is maintaining harmony also, right? So this is maintaining harmony, not only the religion state separation, but the harmony as well. Then Indian secularism allows every religion to flourish and develop. The second point is the flourishment and the development. And the Indian state allows the promotion of all the religions and the treat each of them equal. That means equal treatment and promotion. Therefore, state does not interfere in the religious matters, but it checks the influence of religious in public life. Now, secularism as philosophy of the constitution. Here you could see what is written. Everybody has seen, you might have seen it in your books as well, that this is the preamble. We, the people of India, having so many resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political liberty of thought, expressions, belief, faith and worship, or status, equality of status and of opportunity to promote among them all. Fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individuals and the unit and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, the 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves thus Constitution. And that from that day, we started celebrating 26th January 1950 as a Republic Day, and from that day, the Constitution of India was enforced. Now, as I read there, the preamble of the Indian Constitution reflects the philosophy of the Constitution starts we the people of India. That means we all are the citizens of India. And here we solemnly resolve to constitute into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens and all. I have already read. Though the term secular was not initially mentioned in original constitution, but the Indian constitution has always been secular, as we have already discussed how Indian secularism differs from the Western concept. So in India, it is not mutual exclusion, rather it is principal distance, a complex idea that allows state to be distant from all religions so that it can intervene or abstain from the interference depending upon which of these two would be better promotion, like liberty, equality and social justice. The question of secularism is one of the sentiments, but one of the laws. The secular objective of the state was expressed by inserting the word secular in the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. So, secularism is basic structure of the Constitution. So, fundamental rights, Article 12 to 35 guarantees and promotes secularism. So, this is important to learn article here. Which amendment? 42nd Amendment. The year was 1976, and it guarantees and promotes secularism, right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies are such six fundamental rights. And secular attitude or attitude of impartiality towards all religion is secured by the constitution under several provisions, article 25 to 28. Now, secular attitude or attitude of impartiality towards all religion is secured by the constitution under several provisions, 25 to 28, as I mentioned. Now, let's see how. Firstly, there shall be no state religion in India. The state will neither establish a religion nor confer any special patronage upon any particular religion. It follows from this to that. How? The state will not compel any citizen to pay taxes for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious institution mentioned under Article 27 of the Fundamental Rights. It should be noted that Government of India provides Hajj subsidy for pilgrimage, and this issue was contested in Supreme Court for alleged violation. Article 14 equality, Article 15 non-discrimination, Article 27. We will read a case study also about it. But Supreme Court upheld constitutionality of Hajj subsidy, saying that Article 27 would be violated if a substantial part of the entire income tax collected in India or a substantial part of the entire central excise or custom duty or sales tax or a substantial part of any other tax collected in India were to be utilized for promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious denomination. In other words, suppose 25% of the entire income tax collected in India was utilized for promoting or maintaining any particular religious denomination, that would be violation of Article 27 of the Constitution. No religious instruction shall be provided in any educational institution wholly provided by the state funds, even though religious instruction is totally banned. Owned educational institutions in other denominational institution as recognized by or receiving aid from the state. It is not fully prohibited, but it must not be imposed upon people of other religions without their consent. That is article number 28. Now, second option is every person is guaranteed the freedom of conscience, the freedom of profess and practice and propagate of his own religion subjectively. That means to restrictions imposed by the state in the interest of public order, morality and health, so that freedom of religion may not be abused to commit crimes or antisocial facts, like example is to commit the practice of infanticides, etc. To regulation or restrictions made by state relating any economic, financial, political or other secular activity which may be associated with the religious practice but do not really concern to the freedom of conscience, and to measure for social reform and for throwing open for Hindu religious institution of a public character to all classes and sections of Hindus. Subject to above limitations, a person in India shall have the right not only to entertain any religious but also practice the observances dedicated by such belief and to preach his views to other. Article number 25. So third thing comes, not only is there the freedom of the individual to profess, practice and propagate his religion, there is also the right guaranteed to every religious group or domination, like to establish and maintain institution for religious and charitable purpose, to manage its own affairs in matters of religion, to own and acquire movable and immovable property, to administer such property in accordance with the law, article number 26. And it is to be noted that the guarantee is available not only to the citizens of India but all the persons including aliens. Now, views of our founding fathers of our constitution. If we say it is Gandhiji's views and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's view, religion is a personal matter which should not have no place in politics, and that is very true. We should keep it separated. That is why it is said clearly in the constitution that the religion is totally separated from the state. Religion is the personal affair of each individual. It must not be mixed up with politics or national affairs. 1942, this was the statement of Gandhiji, and in 1947, this was the statement. And I do not accept of any dreams to develop one religion, or that is to be wholly Hindu or wholly Christian or wholly Muslim. But I want it to be wholly tolerant with its religions working side by side with one another. That means he did not want any one religion to develop. He wanted all people to be wholly tolerant. And what was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's view? His main concern was to bring heterogeneous communities under one roof in a nation divided on caste lines. Now, the subsidy for pilgrimages is a case study, as we have read in the topic as well. The Indian government has announced the end of a decades-long policy of giving subsidy to thousands of Muslims heading to the holy city of Makkah to perform the annual Hajj pilgrimage. We move part of our policy to empower minorities and the dignity and without abasement. The move was part of policy to empower minorities and dignity without appeasement, and the Hajj subsidy fund will be used for the educational empowerment of girls and women from the minority community. The decision followed a 2012 ruling by the country's Supreme Court, which had directed the government to gradually reduce the subsidy and abolish it by 2022. Now, again, the exercise question comes like, why do we need a secular state in modern times? In the modern era, secularism has become a very significant phenomenon. We can observe its importance through the following points which are given below. It has been practiced in our preamble, which shows that India is a secular state. Mainly, the word shows impartiality, which is the need of the hour. So, your first point becomes impartiality. That means it should not be partial. It helps in bolstering love, peace, brotherhood, and harmony, etc., rather than the hatred, jealousness, and envy and across the globe. That means it helps in peace. It prevents the communal riots, casteism, and mob lynching, etc., which are consequences of communal ideology, as we can recently of Sri Lanka's incident. You must have read about Sri Lanka's incident. There was a civil war just because the Sinhalas, they were dominated on the Tamilians. Secularism is very important for India because if India becomes a religious state, it will stop us from sharing new thoughts and reading about different religions, and we will lose our analyzing capability and scientific outlook, and politics will be hijacked by the clerical class, which is very dangerous for any nation because clergy will damage the nation by their fanatical actions and spreading hate against each other. So it is very important to keep religion separate from the state. What it concludes, secularism is important in the country because secularism allows the people of various religions to live peacefully without any fear of the majority. It safeguards democracy by limiting the powers of the majority. It ensures the harmony of the nation in absence of secularism. Religious persecutions may take place which may result in dissent, conflicts, or even a civil war. The principle of secularism protects the rights of the minorities too. Now, what is the difference between atheism and agnosticism? Now, there are few people, those who don't have faith in, those who don't have trust in God. Let's see how. An atheist does not believe in God or divine being. However, an agnostic neither believes nor disbelieves in a God or religious doctrine. That means atheistic are the people, those who don't believe in God. But agnostic, they neither believe nor disbelieve, like they are neutral. They don't even believe, they don't even disbelieve. And agnostics assert that it is impossible for human beings to know anything about the universe was created and whether or not divine being exists. And atheism is about belief, or especially what you don't believe. Agnosticism is about knowledge, or specifically but what you don't know. And a secular state. What is the role of secular state about these two different communities like atheists and the agnostics? They would help them to have a rightful place in the society. Now, religion should relate to one's private domain of life. That means religion helps in creating an ethical framework and also a regulator for values in day-to-day life. The particular approach helps in character building of a person. In other words, religion acts as an agency of socialization also, because it teaches us very good things. It gives us moral values too. And the religion helps in building values like love, empathy, respect, harmony, but it should be private affair. And under no circumstances should religion be brought to the public sphere or politics, as already been mentioned, like politics, that and religion should be separate. Now, what were the main measures to promote secularism in India? Education, voluntary agencies, and social engineering. For Nehru, improvement in people's economic condition would push religion into the background. But as we have already seen, this hope has been believed in India. The other alternative is education, which according to some is a more important solvent than perhaps an even economic improvement. Now see how education is helpful. Today, the world over education is considered to be the best agent for promotion of rational and scientific value of attitudes. That means education is considered to be the best agent. And while a total faith in education's modernizing role may be somewhat exaggerated, nevertheless, states that are in progress of nation building rely considerably on education to modernize the outlook and worldview of their population, as India is also looking forward towards that. In India, our hopes building a secular society largely rest upon the millions of school and university students who are today being exposed to modern science, rationality, and humanism. The secular approach of the state, insofar as prevention of any discrimination in education against minorities is concerned, is quite evident. Apart from this, frequent seminars and conferences of experts are organized to see how values and attitudes those constitute the positive and constructive aspects of our national heritage and which promote secularism can be transmitted through education. This step also ensures that the content of our education is not devoid of any values at all, and education without values is soulless and leads to learners nowhere. So education plays an important role in the promotion of secularism. Now, second option is your voluntary agencies. Mere education is not enough to promote secular attitude among people. And if the society continues to be the clutches of the obscurantism, superstition, and fundamentalism, movements for social reform will have to be organized and public opinion mobilized. Now, minorities should be encouraged to participate in mainstream of national life. Social reform is a spirit of social justice and equality must pervade all sections of the population. Religion should not be allowed to hinder the spread of these values. The work of voluntary agencies and associations, women movements, Science for the People movements are as important in this regard as state action. And the third point is social engineering, which is also helpful in promotion of the secularism. True secularism is a style of thought and a way of life. Secularization presupposes deep and thoroughgoing psychological transformations, which in their turn are dependent on institutional change. Admonition and exhortations are at the best instruments of limited utility, unaccompanied by substantial social change and massive educational support. They can attain little. The secular mind is characterized by rationality, empathy, and psychic mobility. If calculated on rational and means basis, it stipulates strategies on a wide canvas. These attributes can thrive best in an open society. They are sustained by cultural ethos of intergroup understanding and cooperation, and also to reorder group allegiances and to restructure the patterns of interaction. A larger national identity rooted in the interest is essential. So, this fate of social engineering will require a socio-economy and political system that can interlink and interpenetrate various subculture groups, and the fate of prejudice and parochialism must first be reduced and ultimately eliminated. The gains of interdependence and cooperation should be visibly demonstrated. Secular ideology alone can achieve little. Now, how far it is correct to say that Indian secularism is anti-religious? Very important thing to this. It is said that the secularism in India is anti-religious. This is fallacious. Indian secularism may be against institutionalized religious domination, but it cannot be referred to as the anti-religion. It is also argued that Indian secularism threatens religious identity, but the fact is that Indian secularism promotes religious freedom and equality. Therefore, it does not threaten religious identity, but on the contrary, it protects a religious identity. If it threatens any form of religious identity, it is dogmatism, fundamentalism, and the narrowness of the religion. Because if we see, there is no discrimination on the basis of caste, gender, and religion, and no religion is officially declared. Nothing is being mentioned in the Constitution of India. No special status is given, and no people of one particular religion are dominated over the other. Now, what are the merits of secularism? Human history has witnessed a lot of religious fundamentalism and fanaticism which had caused harassment and exploitation of man by man. But the development of science, technology, education, and press, with the development of democratic culture, people have become rational and broad minded. All these developments have brought the idea of secularism. It has the following merits: it is based on a broader outlook, more democratic, more scientific and based on rationalism, more human and more natural philosophy, more acceptable and popular philosophy. Now, the views of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and secularism. He was a great philosopher, humanitarian, and a democrat by heart. He gave his doctrine of secularism on the basis of the referred value. His doctrine of secularism is a part of Indian Constitution. The main features of Nehru's doctrine of secularism are as under: separation of state and religion, no state religion; equal protection by the state to all the religions, neither patronage to any religion, no discrimination against any religion; all people are free to profess and practice of any religion; positive interference of the state in religious affairs, particularly the management of religious activities and social reforms; complete opposition of communism. The purpose was to establish equality, freedom, and justice.